Welcome to the Arbuckle murder trial, Part 2, Defense. This video will outline the defense's strategy in the fight for justice for Roscoe Arbuckle. The purpose of this defense is to secure a verdict of not guilty at the second trial. We aim to prove Arbuckle's innocence against the charges of rape and sexual assault by using every legal and factual advantage. The legal framework details the charges as rape, sexual assault, and lewd conduct. We will demonstrate that key elements, such as the lack of consent and use of force, are not met. The prosecution bears the burden of proof beyond a reasonable doubt. We must highlight the cultural bias and moral crusades targeting Hollywood immorality. This climate of public prejudice fueled media sensationalism, which the defense will leverage to show the lack of impartiality. Our defense theory is that this was a misunderstood night. The encounter was consensual. Miss Rappy's death resulted from a pre-existing medical condition, not an assault. Eyewitnesses support a friendly scenario without coercion. The opening statement must set an emotional and compelling tone. We will humanize Arbuckle before presenting evidence, emphasizing that, quote, laughter was never a weapon in this case. Our key witnesses will confirm a friendly scenario without coercion. We will focus on testimony that makes the alleged event consensual and the assault logistically implausible. Martha Marty Bowers, a friend and co-worker, has no motive for falsehood. Her testimony confirms a friendly conversation and no physical altercation, supported by evidence of them laughing together. Charlie Smith's testimony will confirm the extremely cramped conditions in the venue. The limited space would have made intimate contact impossible without multiple witnesses, contradicting the prosecution's claims. The medical examiner's testimony is central to our case. It confirms Miss Rappy suffered from a pre-existing medical issue, and the cause of death was not due to physical force or assault. We will emphasize the lack of trauma. Dr. Dunn, a board-certified pathologist, will provide expert evidence. His autopsy report indicates peritonitis and acute appendicitis, showing no injuries consistent with any alleged assault. Trauma was not the cause of death. Eleanor Clark, who served the Rappy household for 12 years, offers strong credibility. She confirms Rappy complained of stomach pains before the banquet, and her testimony makes no mention of any alleged assault. Defense witness Fred Fishback will testify that Miss Rapp was highly intoxicated. His evidence supports a pre-existing medical condition and confirms the encounter was friendly and without coercion. Detective Miller, a veteran of the LAPD, will confirm a lack of physical evidence. He was not politically pressured, and his testimony confirms there was no clothing damage or signs of struggle. The physical evidence proves the claim of forced sexual assault is physically impossible. Statistical data shows no visible injuries, unlike 95% of cases. We will use visual logic to counter emotional arguments for the jurors. Dr. Samuel L. Gordon diagnosed chronic gastrointestinal issues in Rapp 2 months before the incident. His deposition confirms peritonitis can develop spontaneously, and the cause of death was not due to any physical force or assault. Character witnesses confirm Roscoe Arbuckle's generous and nonviolent nature. Jurors respond to the accused's character as much as the case facts, and we will highlight his active participation in local charity drives. Legal precedents like People v. Anderson and People v. Malone resulted in acquittals due to lack of physical or contradictory medical evidence. Courts protect defendants when forensic evidence is completely absent, establishing a high burden of proof. The prosecution lacks evidence of financial or personal gain. The autopsy disproves assault injuries. Defense testimonies confirm Arbuckle's charitable intent, and peritonitis is a medical condition, not a result of trauma. The final plea must focus on reasonable doubt. We will humanize the defendant and summarize the consistent medical narrative. We must emphasize the prosecution failed to meet the burden of proof. Our closing statement strategy is to argue that the law punishes the guilty, not a man for being beloved. We will recap key facts, showing the prosecution failed its burden, and ask for a verdict based on the evidence presented. The defense team aimed to combat sensational media coverage by focusing on undermining the prosecution's witness credibility. Attorneys argued Rappy's death was accidental, using forensic evidence to challenge the claimed cause of death. The jury instructions emphasized that the presumption of innocence must remain intact. The standard of proof is beyond a reasonable doubt, and the burden of proof remains solely on the prosecution, with no shifting to the defense. The trial was a highly sensationalized and controversial event, culminating in a hung verdict on April 12, 1922. Despite the acquittal, Arbuckle's public image and career were permanently damaged. The scandal generated intense negative public reactions, causing many studios to avoid Roscoe Arbuckle. The film industry responded by creating a strict morality code for future releases, permanently impacting his career. A third trial was necessary because the district attorney was determined to secure a conviction amid public pressure. The second trial ended in a hung jury, giving the prosecutor hope to overcome previous failures. The hung jury occurred because the prosecution did not meet the burden of proof. Medical evidence was inconsistent with a forced assault, and the lack of physical evidence contradicted the criminal claim, with testimony supporting a friendly scenario. The district attorney's determination, public pressure, and the second trial's hung jury fueled the decision for a third trial. The prosecutor believed a third attempt could finally secure the demanded conviction. This concludes our video on the defense's strategy in the Arbuckle trial. Thank you for watching.